Good morning, people. Today on Game Tested, we have a Dell Inspiron 153530, and we'll be testing the Intel i5-1335U that's inside it. However, I don't think we'll be seeing the full power of this processor because of the stupid decisions that Dell made when they put together this laptop. But before we get to that, I'll be changing the format of how I do these tests. I'll be adding emulation as a new category, so we'll be testing how this laptop handles emulation for GameCube, PS2, Wii, and so on. Also for the PC gaming tests, I'll be grouping the games into console generations they're released in. So I'll have a section for games that were released with Generation 7 consoles, that's the PS3 and Xbox 360 era, and sections for Generation 8 consoles, that's the PS4 and Xbox One S era, and so on. Now that we got that clear, let's talk about the internals and specifications of this laptop. As I mentioned before, this laptop has an Intel i5-1335U processor that has 10 cores, 2 performance cores, and 8 efficiency cores. It boosts up to a speed of 4.6 GHz, and it has an Intel Iris Xc graphics running at 1.25 GHz. Installed in this laptop are two 8GB 3200 MHz RAM sticks running in dual channel mode that can be upgraded, which is nice, but here's a stupid decision. Dell has programmed them to run at 2666 MHz, and I can't find any setting in their lockdown BIOS to change this. Knowing how important memory speeds are to graphics performance on these APUs, I have no doubt that this will affect gaming negatively in these tests. For storage, we have a 512GB 2230 SSD installed in a 2280 adapter, and we also have space for a 2.5 SATA drive if you wish to add one. For communication, we have a Realtek Wi-Fi 6 card with integrated Bluetooth. The battery size is 41 watt-hours. The display is a 15.6-inch IPS 1080p screen running at 60 Hz. And for the OS, it has Windows 11 Home. For 2D and Indy Games, you can set it to 1080p and you're running at low to high settings depending on the game. And in the case of Hollow Knight, we're getting well over 120 frames per second. And in other games, we can get definitely over 60. With a little tweaking on PS3, Xbox 360 era games, you're running at 1080p and you can get over 40 frames per second depending on the settings that you're running. And if you go low enough, you can easily get 60.
Perfect day for the celebration.
A full transcript of the Prophet's recent address to you, the Colombian people, on the Holy Drive.
So you're gonna drive into me?
For PS4, Xbox One era games, we're now in the 720p category, and you're looking at somewhere around 30 FPS for these games, and in the case of God of War, you're looking in the 20s, but it's still playable.
Remember the last time we faced an actual challenge.
PS5 and Xbox Series games are gonna be hit and miss. You're definitely running at the lowest settings that you can set this thing to, and depending on the game and how heavy it is, it's probably gonna be unplayable, or if it's a little lighter, it might be playable, but you're just gonna have to test around for this one. Welcome to our new emulation category. This laptop will emulate all consoles just fine up to PS1, so I won't be showing any of those. What I'll be testing is Generation 6 and 7 consoles, so that's the GameCube, PS2, the Wii, and PS3. I'll give a breakdown on how playable each game is, and I'll class them in 4 categories. Works great will mean that the game runs fine at or above native resolution with a solid frame rate. Playable with tweaking will mean that I can get good frame rates, but I have to reduce the graphic settings below the native resolution. Barely playable will mean that I have to tweak settings below the native resolution, but frame rates might drop every now and again, but not so much that I can't play it. And lastly, unplayable, which means exactly what it sounds like. Even with the graphic settings bottomed out, I can't get consistent frame rates to make it playable, or I might have other graphical or audio problems. The Intel i5-1335U is running surprisingly close to the Ryzen 5 7530U we tested in the last game tested video. And even though it's behind on every test, I can see that the results would have been much closer if the RAM speeds were a matching 3200 MHz. We also have to consider that the i5 accomplished this without 15 watt TDP, while the Ryzen was running consistently up to 20 watts. Intel has made big leaps forward with their new architecture and the ARC drivers, and I look forward to see what it would look like not being hampered by slow memory. Until next time, this has been another game tested video. And don't forget to thank God for this life and thank Jesus for giving it a purpose.